Hi y'all, and welcome back to my channel. And welcome today to a video that is 110% inspired by the live that I watched with Emily Hanhan and Audra. And let me tell you, if y'all are not subscribed to those lovely ladies, I will leave that shiz link down below. Y'all need to go and give that a click, tap the notification bell, because it was the best time ever. There was a lot of insightful discussion, a lot of really good thoughts and opinions, and there was also a lot of freaking hysterical just awesomeness. Probably a little too TMI for me to discuss on here, but like I said, I will leave that link down below. But the stream that I was watching was them talking about makeup that we love to hate. Because let's be honest, as much as you and I love makeup, we consume it, we wear it, we buy it, we declutter it, and during the interim at times, we love to hate on it as well. Because I feel in a theme running through my channel recently is the fact that I have come to learn and realize, and if I have said it once, I will say it a million times, if there's anything makeup companies like to do, it's to release stupid shiz. And so today we're just going to be talking about a few points. This is going to be sort of a discussion, whatever type of video. I'm going to be talking about things that I feel like y'all like to hate, just kind of a general consensus of roasting. And then we're going to talk about specifically some things that I like to hate on. It's just a fun, glib, semi-hyperbolic sort of way to, you know, look at makeup more objectively, because in the interim, you know, kind of at its basis core, it is just makeup. So it's a good thing to occasionally get our jollies on by talking about it in a more subjective fashion. And I will preface this with saying some of the topics and some of the points are honestly pulled directly from that live stream, because there was just so much good stuff being thrown around. So I highly recommend going and checking that live stream in there. But the first thing we are going to be talking about is makeup artist makeup lines. Now, at one time on Instagram, your girl fancied herself a makeup artist. I dabbled in the, I don't know, whatever of doing other people's makeup. It was okay. It's kind of like you know, I sort of more learned that it's something that I don't necessarily enjoy doing. But obviously, there are other makeup artists out there. There are those on YouTube, on Instagram, and those famous makeup artists to the stars. We've got Wayne Goss, we've got Pat McGrath, we've got Natasha Denona. Just all these super fancy, well-known makeup artists that for some reason decide that they need to take their name and put it on makeup products. Now, I don't consider this an inherently whatever. If you have a passion, by all means, you deserve to have your passions realized. And I do feel that someone who is a makeup artist, someone who's, you know, versed within the industry of application and professionalism, they've got a good amount of knowledge to be releasing this shiz. However, have y'all noticed that the majority of these makeup artist fancy whatever lines tend to be very expensive? I mean, you've got Pat McGrath, you've got Wayne Goss, you've got Natasha Denona. We've got the Makeup by Mario, which is a lot less offensive in my opinion. I mean, not so much in material as it is in price point. But I just sit here and I wonder, I understand people's names, their famousness denotes a certain amount of clout and whatever. But I sometimes wonder where these people get off deciding that they're going to make a makeup line and that their name alone denotes these super expensive, high-end luxury price tags. I mean, alright, that's great. great. You're a famous person for applying makeup. But does that alone denote you to charge $125, $129 for an eyeshadow palette and $300 something for a brush set? I mean, for that kind of price point, it better be the best, most bomb, diggity shiznit, the most amazing professional level of makeup. I want to see these makeup artists using their products 24/7, every day, on the runway, on celebrities. I need this shiz to be their tried and true. Which I feel like for a lot of things, although maybe aside Wayne Goss brushes, you know, are we really using this marketed at Sephora, you know, Natasha Denona, Pat McGrath, are we really using these holiday releases and these crystal lip kits and these duochrome chromatic chromium eyeshadows every time we're doing a celebrity's makeup or every time we're sending a look down the runway?
I don't think so.
And so that in and of itself makes me kind of like, you know, you're just releasing a line because you're a famous makeup artist. It isn't bringing anything, I don't want to say new. You aren't bringing anything to the game that is really innovative. You aren't bringing the makeup that you are providing us is not enabling us to apply makeup at your level of expertise. You're just coming out with some shiz. You're putting your name on it. And because you're a fancy makeup artist, you get greenlit and everyone's like, well, it's because it's them. They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing when it comes to applying makeup. Does that certify these people to be chemists and whatevers and in formulating everything? Maybe it does. I don't know. Obviously, I'm a nobody from Virginia. But I just get really annoyed how we kind of push this when it comes to makeup artist lines. We're like, oh, well, it's from a makeup artist. They're so well-versed. They have so much knowledge. Obviously, it's gonna be good when that isn't the case, you know? Just because someone knows how to do the fancy doodah on the eyes and the face and the lips and whatever does not make them pre-qualified to have a makeup line. Do I think they're all whatever? No, I like me some Natasha Denona stuff. I think it's stupid that we automatically get to charge a premium. It kind of like has this whole like, okay, so I guess when we reach makeup level artistry, we're supposed to be using $200 palettes? Like at what point does a person's talent go from drugstore to Urban Decay to Natasha Denona Wayne Goss prices? I don't entirely know. I don't entirely understand. I love me some Natasha Denona products. I love me some Viseart products. That's not like, I don't think that's a makeup artist own brand, but it's supposed to be like in that like pro makeup artistry use sort of situation. You know, when I was doing people's makeup, I just used whatever the frig I had to get the job done. I didn't need no $300 Wayne Goss brushes. I didn't need $125 Pat McGrath, $130 Natasha. I just used what I had. And I just find it funny that we've got this whole like, oh, well, a fancy top star makeup artist does like, you know, I just, maybe it's just me. But I get all kinds of suspect that we've gotten to the point where we just like, yes, stamp of approval, this is great. Then we might as well sort of go into the next thing. This was also discussed on that live stream, is anything that markets itself specifically as a pro palette. Like I said before, during the time that I kind of dibble-dabbled in doing, you know, freelance makeup artistry, I didn't have no pro palettes. I just lugged around what I had. And there was never this kind of idea that was like, oh, okay, well, here's this one thing that's for my own personal use, and then here are the things that I use for my makeup artistry. What I used on myself and the products that I loved were what I used on my clients. And I understand to a certain degree there's a level with like pro palettes. It's like, okay, well, you have all the shiznit all up in the whatever. And that's not what I have issues with. That's not, you know, the fact of having like all the eyeshadows and every transition shade and all the blushes and all the whatever. No. That's not what I have issues with. I have issues with, number one, when you have a company that's just out doing its thing willy-nilly, and then they're like, oh, hey, here's a pro palette, which automatically makes the assumption that it's for the next tier level of makeup people. It's for the pros, which I find kind of funny because it's for the pros, but still, these mainstream makeup companies are marketing it to everyday consumers. Because if they marketed it to just the pros, they wouldn't make as much money, let's be real. And for a long while there, a lot of different companies got into this whole pro palette phrasing. I believe there was a while that some drugstore brands were doing it. I know Morphe's done it. I know obviously Lorac has done it, though I think they were using it in just kind of like a Lorac Mega Pro. It's just, eh. But you got these companies that are doing their thing, and then they release this pro palette. And for some reason, this kind of goes into the whole makeup artistry thing. When we think pro, I don't know why we think this, because we shouldn't think this, and companies shouldn't work this way. But we think it's for a pro, so therefore we're going to experience superior quality, which is an issue in and of itself. A company shouldn't be making products that are a certain amount of quality and then suddenly bump that quality just to make a pro palette. It creates the dichotomy of believing that people who aren't makeup artists deserve lesser quality. But most of the times what happens in reality is those marketed pro items are just the same quality, if not worse, than their regular lines. They're slapping pro on it because it makes it seem a little bit more elitist, a little bit more fancy, a bit more bougie. It's like, oh, I'm using a pro palette. Slapping some sort of name on something doesn't make it any more than what it actually is, which is an eyeshadow palette. And another thing that I find funny, and this was also discussed, once again, I'm ripping this content right off that stream. It is down below. Go watch it. Go subscribe. But we talked about the James Charles Morphe palette, which now is considered a pro palette. When it was released and when it was kind of put out there, it was all like, it's the palette for everybody. It has everything you need in it and anything you could possibly need, and anyone can use it. It was sort of marketed as this sort of like, you know, all-inclusive, everybody happy rainbow time palette. And then when that shiz hit the fan and people were having problem blending pigments, people were having issues with stainage, people were having issues with blending, it suddenly instead became this, well, it's a pro palette, it's a mastery palette. You have to use certain specific primers, certain brushes, certain techniques, and if you aren't able to handle this palette, then you just don't have the level of expertise. I thought it was a palette for everybody, James. And so I really find it funny. Like I said, this is something that was mentioned in the stream, where it was all like, why, when this palette is a struggle to work with, do we then consider it a pro palette? Why does pro mean difficult to work with? I understand if you're in the industry and you've had a lot of exposure, you know, you develop techniques, you know how to manipulate all different kinds of what. I don't consider myself a makeup artist. I do my makeup to appease myself. But your girl has been in this game for a long time. I consider myself fairly well versed in the application. And y'all know your girl couldn't get that palette to work worth a darn. And so I feel like it's kind of a cop-out for companies when a palette is a bit like, it's a little bit struggle bus, it's a little bit difficult. We'll just say it's a pro palette because we assume that people are makeup artists or people who have a lot of experience are better at makeup, so they'll be able to handle or know how to deal with those difficult shades, when in reality, the formulas are just inconsistent. So I feel like certain makeup artistry and pro terminology is thrown around kind of as a gimmick and as a way to get out of things. When I think of makeup artistry, I think of Robert Welsh here on YouTube, who focuses on the fundamentals, focusing on knowing the best way to apply makeup, you know, kind of more naturally, you know, just doing those base core whatevers, rather than than someone who knows how to do a crazy, dramatic, whatever freaking glitter cut crease. Like I said, I think that shiz just sort of gets thrown around a little bit, and it's very frustrating when they're trying to use the pro terminology as a marketing whatever rather than anything that actually correlates to the products that they're selling. Okay, this is a personal one. Y'all know, if any of y'all have seen any of my reviews, y'all know this is something I love to crap on. And that is the existence of pasty setting shades in palettes, especially if there's 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 very similar shades that serve this pasty purpose. I don't like it. It's not inclusive. I understand. Different people do different makeuply. Different people do makeup differently. I do my makeup for all I like it. I might not understand or be pro enough to understand the subtle intricacies of setting your primer or setting your whatever it is you're using to prime your eyes with a soft, subtle setting shade. I consider it boring. I consider it a throwaway. When you have a beautiful color story and then you just have these like taupe, ecru, eggshell, vanilla, white, cream setting shades that I suppose, yeah, you use the one to kind of blend out the other color, but it's like, do we really need that many? And do we really need them in every single palette you release? I understand. I'm taking this from my own makeup whatevers. Makeup is marketed to different people differently. Obviously, if you're someone who doesn't have 12,000, 2,000 palettes, you may not have 1,000 of those little soft, subtle setting shades. But part of my problem with this is it's not inclusive, number one, because a nice little soft setting whatever shade for my pasty butt may not work for someone of the deeper, darker, delicious melanin. So I feel it's a little tone deaf in that sense. We just put it in because it's a filler shade, it fills a spot, and we can kind of talk it away by being like, oh, well, you use it to set your eye primer, you use it to blend away a harsher shade. How about you not give us stupid little half whatever eyeshadow palette colors? Take that shiz out. Either make it more inclusive or just give us something more interesting on a whole. If I'm really hurting and I'm really dying for a soft, subtle setting something, I'll go buy a single. I don't need it in every single eyeshadow palette that y'all have on the market. So if you could please, just take a look, think about your palette layout, and maybe next time you release one, we forego the soft, pasty, whatever eyeshadow thing. And that's just me. I understand that. Y'all know that. Y'all, if y'all are out down there in the keyboards,
Well, I love the pasty setting shade. It's the best part of a palette.
that's great. You do you. You do your makeup how it works for you, boo-boo. But I'm gonna do my makeup how I like to do it, and that is typically 99.9999999 times without a soft, subtle, ecru, egg, shell, whatever, pasty setting shade. Okay, this next one is going to be very controversial. We're here to have discussions. We're here to talk. We're here to be chill and whatever, okay? This is obviously tongue-in-cheek. This is somewhat hyperbolic. This is me being me. But one company that I know everybody loves to hate, every single blinking person on this platform loves to hate and beat on and crap on Jeffree Star Cosmetics. Now, before any of y'all go down and get ready to do something Jeffree Star, we're talking about this subjectively, okay? Have I stopped purchasing his products on my channel? Have I stopped promoting his products on my channel? Yes. Yes, I have. But one thing that I've noticed that I find, I don't want to say hypocritical. I just think it's kind of interesting that when sort of popular opinion has come to the point of hating someone. And now let's be clear. Do I think Jeffree Star is a nice person? No. Do I think he's a good person? No. Do I think he's done really horrible, awful things? Yes. But one thing I noticed with hating on Jeffree Star, and hating on Jeffree Star Cosmetics in particular, is when it goes on beyond saying, this person is a terrible person who's done things, and those are the reason behind me no longer supporting said person, said company. I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna absolutely trash every single thing about them, regardless of if it has to do with him as a person or the issues that we're actually dealing with. There have been a couple times where I feel like with his releases, if another company had released it, it would have been absolutely fine. But because it was him releasing it, that gave it an excuse to just absolutely go in on it, regardless of whether it was actually a good product. It was simply the fact that it was him which gave the green light to go in and tear it a new one. Do I believe people need to be held accountable for what they've done and what they're continuing to do? Absolutely yes. Do I believe that every aspect of their life and every aspect of their business needs to be absolutely destroyed no matter what they're posting? No. Like, it goes down to, this is what I have issues with when we get into hate culture and cancel culture. It goes beyond that first issue that we have and goes completely into that nasty, awful, negative, same hateful actions and words that we condemn them for, and we're using it against them. But it's okay, because we're talking about a terrible person, even though we're doing some of the same things that they did and that we condemned them for. Like, you'd post a selfie and people would be like, oh, this guy looks like the biggest butt stain of the world. And everyone's like, ha ha ha, you right. And I'm just like, his appearance has nothing to do with the fact that he's a terrible person. I mean, I remember everybody coming on in and being all like, well, don't come after Jacqueline's appearance. That doesn't have to do anything with it. Which they're absolutely right. It has nothing to do with the issues. But suddenly, because it's this guy, it's okay. It's a pat on the back. It's a pass. We can say whatever we want because he's awful. And like I said, I don't want anyone to sit here thinking that I'm here supporting and excusing and being okay with his nasty behavior. That is not the point. What is the point that I don't like it when people go to that extreme, and then because of the nasty behavior, instead of just being all like, okay, I'm not supporting this person, I'm going to speak out eloquently, politely, and appropriately. Instead, I'm just going to get my jollies on by crapping on every selfie this person does, any tweet they do, anything they do is somehow connected to that thing. They could be like, hey, look, here's a picture of my dog. And it will turn into this whole, oh, how dare he deflect onto everything and showing a picture of a dog, and he's trying to show himself as being a humanitarian. Reading into every single tiny bit of the existence, just step back. Draw conclusions where they need to be done. Speak out when it needs to be said, but don't get consumed with sitting there and making your life condemning every single aspect of another person's existence. I feel like to a certain degree, we have gotten to the point where it is just beyond calling him out for all the bad things he's done, and it's gotten to the point where just absolutely trash talking him is the accepted norm. And like I said, there was a time when trash talking James Charles was the absolute accepted norm. Everyone was doing it. And now that things have come out, tables have turned, and we now have more information about that whole situation. Looking back, I jumped on the bandwagon. I made videos and thinking now, yeah, I probably should have waited, but I just find it so interesting that it is just, depending on the person, depending on the phase, depending on the whatever, there comes this little bubble, depending on the creator, the company, the whatever, where it literally is a green light to just tear into them every aspect of their lives, whether it has to do with the real things we have issues with them or not. Their existence is what we despise, not what they've done. And that's what I feel cancel culture and all this hate whatever thing really is, and why I think it's really toxic. Yes, accountability for what things have been done. Yes, major important. Letting ourselves become overly consumed with just totally like just dragging these people through for whatever little, you know, oh my goodness, like it was when did his whatever in the couch, and I'm like, can we focus on what's like really important instead of focusing on how stupid we think his potential lip injections or whatever is? It's just interesting that we're advocating for everyone to leave Jacqueline alone about her appearance, but when it comes to Jeffree Star, it's okay. We can say whatever we want because he's the scum of the earth. Scum of the earth maybe, but that doesn't mean we have to stoop down to the same scum of the earth level. I'm sorry about that. I had that listed on here because it was just a topic that I knew, you know, everybody loves to hate Jeffree. I remember when everybody loved to hate on KVD when this was kind of reversed. And now it's just turned into this big, giant hate train. And I'm not saying that people's attitudes towards him and his company are not unwarranted. I'm just saying we can voice our opinions and we can express ourselves in such better, more productive ways than being angry on Twitter about, I don't know, some stupid thing about his appearance. So I'm probably going to get a lot of dislikes, probably going to get some unsubscribe. It is what it is. I would love to hear your all's thoughts. I understand it's a very varying level of thoughts and opinions. You know, everyone's kind of going back and forth with this. I mean, not everyone, but you know what I mean. I would love to hear what you all have to say on the things that I discussed. I have got plenty to do another video like this, so if you've made it this far, let me know down below if you would like to see a continuation of this. Maybe I'll try to get some sort of collaboration done with Audra or Emily, because that would be amazing. Definitely go check out that video. Definitely go check out their channels. They are amazing, fantastic creators. I really do hope you guys enjoyed this. I like getting a little bit more introspective, a little bit more talky, and I know most of y'all typically enjoy that as well. But thank you guys so much for watching. I love you, and as always, keep it real.